item is with District 843.
Yes, in your backup materials would be a transportation supervisor administrative support agreement, as well as an operation and maintenance agreement with District 843. This is something that we have done for the last 2 years. I would like to do it for 1 more year. We had discussed last year, probably summer, early fall, that this would be the last year we would do that. With the uncertainty right now of the cooperative, it would make sense for us to continue this agreement 1 more year to serve those students. Over 540 students are now transported through District 843. It is our most susceptible to litigation at this time, I think would be fair to say. And to have an individual there that has IEP development background training makes the most sense. I would recommend that we enter this into the agreement for next school year in both of these areas, and then we determine as the year goes on where the cooperative is going.
Yeah, I was the one pushing to have it be the last year, but I agree with the uncertainty. It just doesn't make sense, especially with the majority of the 843's transportation, and you're not going to get anyone to fill this position right now. So I'm comfortable that we're in a position now that we have for 1 more year. We have to go for 1 more year.
And we were prepared to not do it, and then here over the last 60 days,
right.
You know, they're in a situation, they're also looking for a business manager right now, and they're having a very difficult time. And so I think to keep the operations going, I think this is what is best.
We're on base of your participation.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Carolyn does a phenomenal job. In the 2 years, almost 100 more routes a day have increased. And they're not just scheduling people an A run, a B run. I mean, these are kids that have IEPs for the travel, somebody who's well-versed, Mike does a phenomenal job, but it's separate. I mean, other than housing at the same barn, it's 2 separate entities there. But to hit the ground running, she did a phenomenal job 2 years ago to bring someone in new, kind of in the uncertainty. I don't know that anybody even would want to come in new at this point. But she's done a great job, and 843 is lucky to have this intergovernmental, if approved.
When will this turmoil no longer be
Well, anyone leaving the cooperative would have to inform the cooperative by January 1st for an 18-month out. So by next January 1st, if anyone were to leave, they would have to provide notice, and that would give obviously 1 semester plus an entire year. So any uncertainty will have to be settled by January 1, or you'll have a whole another year-long cycle. So the earliest would be after that next school year, but the following year.
So technically, if they chose to exit,
If anyone chose to exit,
if one of the parties chose to exit, then that exit could almost carry this forward 2 years, because we'd be sitting there saying, well, we can't let it not be for your final year.
Well,
Is it a going concern if you have one district exit?
Yes, it would be. It would be. And so what we have asked the executive director to do is, when preparing the budget next year, when they present those budgets to the boards in August, to prepare a budget with everyone in, and then to prepare budget scenarios with other districts not part of the cooperative, and then what that would do to the cost structure. Because the cost structure for overhead administration is based upon potential students to be served. So we're calculated for the overhead administrative costs, bookkeepers, district secretaries, the director, at 6,970 students. So if another large district were to leave the cooperative, that puts an additional burden on Lincoln Way. Right now, we're paying roughly 40% of some of those overhead costs. Now, every other director is paid by program charges. We currently are utilizing 843 for McKay and for Pioneer Grove. And so, depending upon how the budget comes back next fall, I could see certain scenarios if other districts were to withdraw, we would likely have to follow suit, and I'd have to bring recommendation of the board based upon price. And making sure we'll still be able to provide the services that we can provide. We would be very comfortable with taking over the responsibilities of McKay right now, if we had to. The level of support for the students of Pioneer Grove would take us some additional time. We don't want to have to outsource those students and spend more time on a bus to go to Downers or Lamont or Naperville. Wouldn't be the right thing to do. But my hope is that we'll continue to work through some of the discussions that they're having at the governing board and some of the discussions at the advisory board, and we'll continue to work through this. Good question.
So there's two agreements that are in here.
Correct.
Do I entertain a motion to accept both agreements as presented in the board packet?
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, open the vote, please.
Vote is open. The motion is unanimous. Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, informational items. First informational item is community use of facilities.
That material is back to the board. Continue to meet the recommendation of the administration, use of the school facilities during the school day, and allow the public to utilize those facilities during park district hours after school. We would also be able to allow morning swim hours after talking with the pool supervisors in each of the buildings. We would be able to work something out where we could go Monday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, Thursday at East and or Central. Those areas are much easier to be locked off from the building. We go 5:30 to 7 in the morning and provide swim hours in the evening. We would be then covering or paying for the same amount of supervisor hours at $15 an hour as we do now. We'd be able to provide evening hours then at all three schools. You've kind of seen it in the proposal. That's what I would recommend. The use of the fitness center and or walking tracks would be done during park district hours in the evening. So we would not be banning public use of our facilities. We would be restricting it at times when students are present during the school day.
Well, I've said it before, I'm sorry. I've said it before, and I'll repeat myself. I still think there's an opportunity to find a solution. We promised our community when we passed those referendums, and I still think there's an opportunity to find a solution. I'm not in support of the recommendation.
This doesn't require any board action.
Does not. I wanted to, we've continued to work through this process, and so I wanted to come back with some discussion. In terms of where the administration is, our belief remains that during the school day is problematic. But we did some comparisons and some discussions.
As of today, do we allow the early morning lab swim hours?
There still is early morning lap swim here at Lincoln Way Central. I'm not positive at East, but they're out by 7 a.m. And this is something that we would be willing to do again next year. The reason it concluded, we allowed it to continue this year. Some of you may recall, it's been 3 or 4 years since we started charging for the early morning swim. And so they had already paid, so they finished their time. Brian Shannon is the early morning supervisor. They're very diligent about checking people in, checking people out, and then going and teaching class.
So West, I'm assuming West can't be,
We're not able to lock it off, Chris, because of the way the atrium is set up there.
I'm still out. I hear both sides. As a 3-time cancer survivor, I appreciate setting goals and getting to the next hour, getting to the next day, and I'm totally with it. And I understand having goals and having things set. As doing security and law enforcement for 30 years, I think restricting access or limiting it till after hours, I'm not all in favor of still having it up till 8:30 with kids in the building. I know there was an agreement made 10, 15 years ago, but it was different times then too. And I'd still be adamant to say that if the kids are in the building, the public shouldn't be. But that's an administrative thing. I feel for both sides, I get it, but I still have a sense of responsibility for the staff to suggest to you as the decider on this to just keep everyone in mind as far as administrators and students.
Isn't the lap swim hours administered by the park districts?
No.
No. But the park districts are in the field house at that.
Correct. The park districts are in every evening, public.
Every evening,
Absolutely.
they're not here in the morning.
No, every evening.
I mean, I work in a school where people can't come in, I feel comfortable. We don't work here, we don't have to be here. I mean, these people, I think that we should probably talk to the staff. I would be, I shouldn't say that, I'm not gonna say what I think that they would say, but if you did speak to the staff, that might give you a little bit of input of their comfort level. You don't have to be here between 7:30 and 3:30, they do. That's kind of my take. But in my high school, I feel comfortable that the public is not allowed to roam the halls while I'm teaching.
You don't roam
So
the halls.
is this,
You don't roam the halls.
the early morning swim was going to be eliminated completely prior to this, or was this going to remain?
Next year, that was the thought, Chris, and I had discussions with Mr. Kirkman about that, you know, we could probably still work our way through this, knowing that it was going to continue the remainder of this year as they had paid. But in meeting with the swimming supervisors, the pool supervisors in each building, our coaches do different cycles of morning practice. We can make this work.
Where do we stand on
The task
Task force, I was saying,
Task force.
we offered
We
the
can get
task
there.
force.
I was just letting everybody know.
That's my next question.
You know, and we had talked about this. If it's a board committee, it needs to be board action. If it's superintendent committee, you know, if it's a majority of the board, and you know, so I think we needed to kind of let that wait and see where we were with another discussion, and that's what Mr. Kirk and I discussed, was let's come back, put this on here and have another discussion and kind of decide where to go.
What were you thinking about the committee? What was your
Well,
thoughts?
I would still, personally, since everybody else weighed in, I would like to see us go to a superintendent's committee or task force. So it's not a, you know, we're not subject to the rules and regs around it being a board committee. And then we could allow, obviously, invite some of our constituents in to have their voice heard, and then some other subject matter experts. And then to Chris's point, if we can find a way to round an edge or sharpen a corner, but we may come to a conclusion that it isn't, and then still defer back to administration if that's the case. But we're at a point now where the school year's ending, so maybe we could use a little bit of I know there's no real downtime, you and I have that discussion all the time, but a little bit of the non-student downtime to have those meetings, get the information, get the feedback, bring it back, and then as we enter, when the students are returning back to the building, then we can definitively decide what the best course of action is.
And what about the Will County Sheriff?
Yeah, that would be the other subject matter experts that we would bring in. And so what we're going to have to determine is we probably want board representation on that. So then it comes down to the who plus administration. I've had some feedback from people in the public that would like to be a party to that. And then obviously what other subject matter experts we would bring in to help us make a qualified recommendation, decision, direction, whatever it turns out to be. So we wanted to determine the who tonight from our perspective, which you might get a phone call saying, hey, are you interested in this? I would like to volunteer Mr. Kostick in his absence.
That's generally how things work.
And we can target this for June. We can target this.
We'll get this going right after the graduations are over, and then I think June will be a good time to schedule some dates, get them out there, let people get them on their calendar, give them some time to start to formulate their thoughts, listen to other people's thoughts, and then come back with the idea that it would be ready to go, whatever the decision is, before the next school year. Fair enough?
Okay.